Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Chauskas. Today is the 5th of July 2018, so welcome to this afternoon session where we're going to have a look at a few instruments that I've picked for today's Traders Tea Time, which I believe are quite interesting to have a look at. But before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content of this webinar does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Also, before we jump into the charts, quickly have a quick reminder of our JFD Brokers research page, where you can go and have a look at different analysis that we do on a daily basis, prepare our different trading shoutouts, and of course we produce our daily analysis, which I think you can find it useful. Yep, guys, feel free to check us out. But for now, let's have a look at the chart. So the first one I want to touch on is the Shanghai composite. Now, certainly we can see that we are having quite a slide to the downside here. So at the moment, I can see that since we have broken this area here, this quite important area of support that kind of acted as nice support here in the first half of the year, we've broken into the downside in the mid-June and continued pushing lower. Certainly right now we're seeing this continuation. We keep on taking out the level of support, these good levels of support, one by one, and at the moment, to be honest, it seems that there's no limit for this one. If just looking at this bigger picture, I mean, we could start maybe examining these potential areas of support here that we had. Let's say this one right here. This is quite a good one to watch. This is the low that we had here around January time and the beginning of February. So this area here is about approximately around the 2640 mark, maybe 2635, something like that. So keep an eye on this one, guys. I mean, this could be a potential area for a test for this one. But if this continues to drop like this, because certainly we didn't have a good start here on the Shanghai composite, didn't have a good start of the second half of the year. It was met by heavy selling here, and yep, it seems at the moment this is the direction that is going to continue before we find a spot here where this could slightly retrace back to the upside, maybe for a bit of a correction. But for now, like I said, this isn't looking quite good. Quickly, let's have a check at the 4-hour chart here. So potentially we could try and position ourselves here, like by trying to maybe enter a position at around these lows here, on a break of these lows at around 2720 mark. If we do get a break here, I mean, if we are entering a position to the short for a short position here, certainly keep your stop losses in place, and for us to a good potential area for a stop loss could be these highs here, because if we start breaking these, we could start aiming for these higher previous highs. We could start aiming for these higher levels again, but for now, again, like I said, this isn't looking quite healthy, and we could see continuation to the downside. Certainly at some point we will have to have some sort of like a correction a bit back to the upside, but for now, like I said, it's just not there on the horizon. So keep on monitoring this one, guys. If suddenly we do get some sort of reversal, for us to kind of become a bit more bullish on this one, we would need to see a nice move here above this 21 EMA here, shown as the yellow line, and eventually we could start aiming for these levels right here, clearly seen on the 4-hour chart, and that's around the 2845. So keep an eye on that level here. If we do get a nice pop here to the upside, well, this could become a bit interesting, as we could maybe potentially start aiming for a little bit of a more retracement, and we could maybe start aiming for these higher levels, these previous levels of support that we were looking at on the daily chart. So one of them could be a nice one, this 2930 mark, which previously, well, should have acted as a nice area of support in the past, but now it could be a nice area of resistance. So for now, keep an eye on this one, guys. The Shanghai Composite, I mean, it is certainly just heading south, but I mean, we could maybe eventually see a bit of retracement back to the upside, but then again, it's not really clear at this point where exactly this small reversal could happen. I wanted to touch on one commodity, one precious metal here, which is platinum. Now, this is a daily chart, as you can see, and we can see that we have broken this nice area of support here quite a while ago. Actually, we've broken it on, well, in around mid-June, let's say like that, and then we've tested it in the second half of June again from underneath, so it became a very nice area of resistance, and since then we've just sold off, and this is where the precious metal found its support, and it found support around the 799 mark. So just slightly below the round 800 number, so, and from which we can see that it bounced off back to the upside and currently sitting here at around 850, 845, something like that. So this one becomes a very interesting one, to be honest, because it's currently still below this downwards moving trend line, even though it's showing some signs of recovery, potential recovery. Of course, maybe these could be short-lived, but nevertheless, I mean, this doesn't exclude the possibility to position ourselves nicely for maybe a possible trade on this one. So if we look at a 4-hour chart here, we can see that it is forming something like a flag here, maybe like a pennant, I would say, maybe. So for now, this one, I mean, we could maybe start examining a bit of more high side here, maybe a little bit of higher levels, but for those we would need to see a nice push here above this area here, above the 845, and then eventually above this 50 EMA shown here as the red line on the 4-hour chart. If we do get these breaks here and a move above the 845 and then eventually above this 50 EMA, then, well, this is where we could start looking at slightly higher levels, maybe even aiming for these lows that we had here, this area of support that, well, acted as a nice support here in the end of June. So this time it could potentially act as a nice area of resistance. So, and that's around this 860 mark, approximately there. It's just a zone. We could start aiming for that one, and if you do want to place a trade, something like that, so guys, so probably, as always, I'll probably repeat myself, never forget to put a stop loss. So if let's say a trade looks like something like this, then a potential stop loss could be around these lows that we had here, or even actually maybe could be even better around this 21 EMA here shown as the yellow line, and we could potentially start targeting this level right here at around 860. But to be honest, I would probably stick around here. If, let's say, if we do make a nice move here to the upside and we start aiming testing the 860, certainly at this point, well, I mean, probably a little bit earlier than that, but nevertheless, I mean, you could move your stop loss a little bit in front of your entry price, and in order to just to kind of protect yourself, and let's say if this reverses back to the downside. But once, let's say if you're in profit here, and if you reach this 860 level, don't rush into, let's say, closing your position yet, because maybe we could see another pop here to the upside, because if this 860 doesn't hold, the next potential area of support could be this area that I was talking about recently, this 878 mark. So approximately there, we could end up pushing towards this area here, or even actually maybe making it all the way back to the downwards moving trend line here that was quite visible here on the daily chart. So we can see that there is some potential for this one to move higher and retrace a little bit back to the upside. Certainly keep an eye on this one. We could, let's get back into the 4-hour chart. Certainly there is a possibility maybe for this one to go down again, so this is why it's good to have your stop losses in place. Now, to be honest, if we're going to be examining, if we're going to look at the potential downside as well, then actually you could lift your stop loss just a little bit here, because if we do get a break below this area here, then we could make our ways back towards this 21 EMA. So at least you would kind of cut your losses early, and then we could reconsider maybe entering another position at around this 21 EMA, depending on how it's going to start building up. I mean, maybe if it's going to reverse back to the upside, this is where it's going to become interesting. But if we start to break this lower, I mean, we could maybe start examining the a bit of a more retracement here to the downside. And yeah, I mean, of course, and then we'll have to just reevaluate the precious metal there. Now, this is what's in regards to platinum. Let's have a look at a few pairs. So GBPAUD, now this one is an interesting one, and looking at the daily chart here, we can see that we started ranging here on this one. And let me just zoom in a little bit. Yep, and this is where it's stuck right now. So it's stuck approximately between the 177,350 and the 179,700. Now, this area, continue monitoring it. Certainly at the moment, yeah, even though we are ranging here a little bit, nevertheless, still we can see that we've recently, well, kind of recently, let's say in June, in the beginning of June, we've broken this downtrend here that we had running here since the 26th of April. We've broken it to the upside. We managed to move higher, so this could be just a pause here of the trend, and we could maybe start aiming for these higher levels, and we could start breaking these, especially breaking this upper side of the range and moving higher again. So let's put a 4-hour chart here just to kind of see how we could potentially position ourselves. So a good potential target for this one, if we break the upper side of the channel, could be this area right here at around 1.81 100 approximately there. Let me just quickly round it up, and there we go. So if we do get a nice break here above, I mean, then yeah, we could start potentially looking for a touch of this 8100. So at the moment we can see that yes, the 4-hour candle, this 4-hour candle is now moving lower. We are going down a bit, but nevertheless, stay sharp here, because we do have this very short-term upwards moving support line which is passing by here. So basically we could maybe see something like a bit of a retracement to the downside. This is where we could test the this support line and then maybe bounce back to the upside. Certainly this could be a potential scenario, but if we start breaking this one to the downside, well, this is where it could become a bit more interesting, because we could see another drop here towards these lows that we had here recently. Let me just quickly mark those, and these are around the 178,100 mark, approximately there. So if once we, let's say, break this upwards moving support line, keep an eye on this little level right here, the 178,100. Now further declines below that level are well, they could open the path towards this area here, this lower side of the range at around 177,350, which could potentially stall the rate for a while, and this is where the kind of the bears and the bulls would start battling it out, and you know, trying to kind of figure out who's going to dictate the rules later on. So for now, keep on monitoring this little range here. Certainly, like I said, at the moment, looking at the bigger picture, it kind of looks like more something like more towards the bullish side, as this could be classed as a pause here, but like I said, keep on monitoring on a very short-term perspective. Keep on monitoring this very short-term upwards moving support line. And one last pair that I really wanted to touch on, guys, is the USDCHF. Now, the USDCHF, and this one is quite a good one as well to keep an eye on, because on the bigger picture we are stuck here at this, in this little zone here. So we are above this upwards moving trend line that's running here for since the beginning of June, let's say, and we are stuck here, and until we've broken that to the downside, we're going to probably stick to the upside, and because there could be more potential here, especially if you want to actually class this as an ascending triangle as well. So this is something that could be interesting, because like I said, we could maybe make a move lower here, touch this upwards moving trend line, and then bounce from it back to the upside, and we could start aiming for these levels right here. The first one good one to watch. The first good area of resistance could be around the 0.99650, and the next one could be this upper side of the ascending triangle. Then we could test this area here at around 0.99900. Now, if we do get a break here to the upside, well, this is where it could become even more interesting, because we could end up moving towards this 1.0055 mark, which is marked by the highs that we had here in May. So very good potential area of resistance, but only if we get a nice break here above the 0.99900. So keep an eye on this one. Some good levels to watch here on the upside, but like I said, if we get a break here below this lower side of the triangle, or let's name it this upwards moving trend line, if we do get a break below, and especially if we do get a break below this 0.98950 mark, now this is where we could potentially start examining these lower levels here. The first potential area of support could be this low around the 0.98500, approximately there. Oh, there we go, approximately there. And certainly if that doesn't hold, well, we do have a better one, which is the 0.98250, marked by the lows that we had here on the 14th of June. So guys, keep on monitoring this pair, keep on monitoring, especially monitoring this zone right here, as this could be a good trade, potential trade to take, especially once it gets to closer to either of the sides, either to the upper side here, upper side of the ascending triangle, or to the lower side of this ascending triangle. So okay guys, I'll have to wrap it up here. I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for watching and listening, and I hope you have a good US session, and yep, but for now, thank you very much, and bye bye.